What's going on, BHDL fans? My name is Scorpion of the BHDL crew, and it is here. As per BHDL tradition, I am here and I am doing an interview with the champion of Battle Hub Draft League Season 2, who is our first Pokémon VIOLA. As you can see on screen right now, this is the matchup of the finals. If you haven't gone and watched the finals just yet, I will leave a link to the replay of it in the description down below. So if you haven't already seen who has won Battle Hub Draft League Season 2, please go and check that out before watching this one. With that being said, however, it is time for me to congratulate our first ever Pokemon VIOLA, and it is none other than our first ever Pokemon Scholar as well, the coach of the Mammothswine Doubters, returning champion Raymond. Hereby, congratulations. He is here in the call with me right now, and we're going to do an interview. You want to say hello, friend?
Hello. Thank you for those the warm welcome. It's still crazy to believe. Like the two seasons in a row, especially the second season, where without any hesitation I can say that every coach of the 16 teams is an incredible battler. Like I played with every single one of you, and just to come out on top, it seems like such hard to believe.
I can imagine, man. It's
I wanted to give a special shout out to every single coach, and especially to Brandon, because his team, in my opinion, is the best in the second season, and he has done an incredible job piloting it.
Nice, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, indeed. Also, but we can't forget a big congratulations to Brandon, of course, as well, our other finalist. And very kind of you to say that, Raymond. Like I said, we're going to do an interview, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on a lot of things as the two-timer champion now of Battle Hub Draft League. So, without further ado, let's start off with the first most generic question. I would like to hear, obviously in Season 1, you had Chiampao on your team, which this season was banned, and obviously we all of us had to contend with 100 points to draft, whereas last season we had 115, and we also obviously had our low tier Terra rule, which means a lot less Pokemon could actually terrestrialize during this season. So overall, what were your thoughts on Season 2?
You mean more like the team building thoughts, or
yeah, just like overall, like the rules, the way it went, the standings, everything, like just overall thoughts on Season 2, really?
I think it went out great. I think the coaches, the competition was a lot more fierce, as I've said. All of the games I've had were really fun. And speaking of points, it made the team building harder. And what I made my attention on were I noticed a lot of coaches were drafting 10, 11 Pokemon, like pretty much the same power, right? Instead, I tried to focus on less Pokemon, but more powerhouses, the ones that I knew I could depend on. And if I had more points, of course, I would have drafted more viable Pokemon as my second Terra Captain, for example, but
of course, yeah,
had to sacrifice something.
Makes sense, yeah. This season has definitely been very different, obviously, from Season 1, and we obviously all had to compromise one way or another. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I'd like to think all of us made some very incredible memories, which is awesome to see.
I think Season 1 was also good, but in I feel a lot better winning with my second season team than winning with Chiampao. I could say.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Because I don't really like. I liked using Chiampao, but I'm just not a fan, of those broken Pokemon.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. All right. So yeah, thank you for your thoughts. I absolutely agree with that, and I hope all the other coaches have had as much fun as we did, for sure. And you just mentioned Chiampao and using broken Pokemon, and this is a question that I also asked you back in Season 1, but I'm always very, very curious on basically, well, anyone for this in that regard, but your round 1 pick in Battle Hub Draft League Season 2 was Baxcalibur. Now, obviously, you also mentioned that, I think even in our last interview that we did back in Season 1, that you wanted to draft this Pokemon, and you very loyally stuck to it. I know you are a very big fan of Baxcalibur. but more on the competitive side of things. Why? There's a couple. So the things I'd like to ask you: why Baxcalibur, and especially why not something like Galarian Slowking to support it? Like you drafted Baxcalibur by itself, and you did incredible with it without even any like chilly reception support or something. Which I think is incredible. So well done with that. But yeah, feel free to talk. Why Baxcalibur?
Yeah, you remember correctly. In the last interview, I did say that Baxcalibur is like one of my favorites, and it's definitely my favorite Pokemon of Generation 9. I'm actually a huge Godzilla fan, and it really reminds me of it. And I wanted to show people that before the second season started, I noticed few people, not in our like servers or anything, but it was a general tendency, like saying that Baxcalibur is mediocre, it's overhyped or overrated. And I just wanted to like both have fun with my favorite and show people that it's actually a great Pokemon to use. And I was happy to show different takes on Baxcalibur, except one, which is very funny and ironic. I never used the loaded dice scale shot set.
Yeah, you never used the set that got it banned to Ubers.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had any good luck with scale shot. I seem to miss it more than hit. So like last time I used scale shot on my Kyurem, I missed 2 times out of 3 and
lovely.
I thought how good that I never tried it in the league, and that I just stick to Glaive Rush. And also Baxcalibur, its stat spread is great. It's really bulky, and Ice Dragon is a great type in offensive. Like the only Pokemon that resist it are Steel types, and it has Earthquake for coverage. It's also like the main difference between my another favorite Ice type Pokemon in Mamoswine. It has access to Swords Dance and Dragon Dance, right?
That's a big difference.
Mamoswine doesn't have those boosting moves. So Baxcalibur is already threatening, right? But give it one turn of setup, and with priority in Ice Shard, with one of the best Dragon type moves and Glaive Rush. It's like Outrage with no drawbacks, really. The only thing that you did mention, why no Galarian Slowking, and to the lesser extent why no Alolan Ninetales with Aurora Wheel. And to be honest, first it would make my team too predictable, and I like to be more diverse. And second, I would just feel like it's too easy the team would be too easy to use, right? I wanted to give my focus on more Pokemon than just Baxcalibur.
I love that. My guy was led. I'm not going to use Galarian Slowking or Alolan Ninetales because it'd be too easy. I have my own style. I'm committing to it. I respect that.
Yeah, and one more thing about Galarian Slowking especially. I was never a fan of Regenerator Pokemon because they tend to slow the pace and the game gets less like exciting for me personally.
Yeah, that's fair. And I really I personally absolutely love the way that you've made Baxcalibur work. Again, the fact that you did it without any other like common support mon that supports Baxcalibur, I think is incredible. I myself and many others have seen the threat of Baxcalibur. Like I was a damage roll away from getting swept by that thing myself, and many other coaches who played against you have seen just what this Pokemon is capable of, and I absolutely love to see it. I'm personally also a big fan of Baxcalibur. I love this Pokemon, so like seeing you do so well with it and do it justice really is just like doing justice to your favorites. And yeah, I love it. I think it's
I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. And to add last one thing about Baxcalibur, last season it didn't do particularly well, so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to show people that it's a lot better than we all thought about it, right?
You were trying to like redeem it, which does make sense. I personally, I think we talked about this at the start of the season. I personally am definitely a Baxcalibur believer. I do think this Pokemon is very usable, even in a draft league where it can't Terra. However, I definitely do think that like you would have done, you definitely did better with it than I would have, for example, or even other people.
I think so, but then as well, like you did a lot better with other Pokemon, right?
That's true. Yeah, we all have our mons that we like using. That's very true.
Yeah. To each person, their own unique style. Like, doesn't matter which Pokemon we pick. It matters like if they suit our play styles and like what we like or not.
Absolutely. Which thank you for your thoughts on that, which brings me to my next question. Now we have your team as a whole, the Mammoth Wyndowlers. Now on screen right now I have the current version of your team, which obviously is Baxcalibur, Zapdos, Azumarill, Azelf, Corviknight, Dugtrio as of Terra Captain 1, Salazzle, Probopass as Terra Captain number 2, and Dracloak. And in the bottom left I have the Pokemon that you once had on your team but traded away, which are Dragalge, Blissey, Hisuian, Sneasel, and Indeedee. Now, before we get to those, I'd like to just quickly ask you, what do you think of your team as a whole? And in particular, I'm curious, do you think other people would also, like even just other people in other draft leagues, right? Like maybe, let's say just on average really good players, do you think other people would be able to carry this team to finals? Or do you really think, oh, this is a Raymond team, only I can do this?
Well, first, I think of my team as a very fun, gimmicky, more like of a gimmick style team. You have a lot of pivoting Pokemon, and that's kind of a reason why I focused on Dugtrio as my Terra Captain, because after Baxcalibur I drafted Zapdos because I really wanted to use it for a long time, and it was a very versatile both as a wall and as a offensive Pokemon, and I just generally like Zapdos.
Yeah, that's great. Like Zapdos is an awesome Pokemon for sure.
Yeah, so it was a pivoting Pokemon with Volt Switch. Then I also drafted Corviknight because I needed a defogger, and nobody picked it in like round 5, which was crazy.
Yeah, pretty late pickup, but honestly a very solid one.
Yeah, and Azelf is, I really like the Lake Guardians.
Same.
Yeah, and Azelf is probably the best out of them.
Oh, easily. I would argue.
Such a threat. And one of like the most common moves on Azelf is U-turn. So with all of those pivoting moves, if we remember Dugtrio's main weakness is it's very frail, and it needs to come on the field without taking a hit. And the second weakness is lack of coverage, and that's where terrestrialization comes in.
Yep.
Right? You can make it any type. And Dugtrio has been one of my favorites since Generation 3. In Overused, it was allowed with Arena Trap, and I used it a lot on Pokemon Showdown.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I was just more accustomed to it. Like I knew how to use Dugtrio. So I don't really know how many people would feel comfortable using Dugtrio, and Probopass also served a similar role in trapping, right? Mm-hmm. Because it takes more patience to in the battle itself to pivot and to find the right opportunity you want to bring.
Of course, yeah.
Your trapping Pokemon in. Also, I didn't have any traditional wall. Mm-hmm. Like my best wall was Corviknight, but it was more of a support, like a defogger. And I know that people like having at least 2 walls on their teams.
Yeah.
Also, I remember that I used a lot of non-offensive Azumarill sets, and knowing people's preferences, they would probably just use Belly Drum Azumarill on most of their games.
Did I misremember this wrong, by the way, or did you genuinely never use Belly Drum Azumarill?
I used it against Noradine and Ilex, where we just got 1 kill, and I used it against I think it was the best and it didn't do much work. It anchored Gliscor into knockoff, and then it just bully drummed Aquajet, but it was his last Pokemon. So I don't think I swapped with bully drum Azumarill this whole season.
Oh, I see. But it did come out a couple times.
Yeah. So as for my substitutes, you did mention I had Blissey and Dragalge I never used, and Hisui and Sneasel, and Indeedee.
What about those? Why did you trade them away?
So Blissey, I needed when I originally picked Blissey, I needed a special wall that could set hazards, and I thought Blissey was the best one available. But then, after I started analyzing my team, I realized that. So from the start of the game, my team has always kept this momentum. With always switching out, bringing powerhouses in, pressuring my opponents.
Yep, you have a very good Volturn core with good abuses of it as well.
Right, yeah, but Blissey, it would just stop any momentum my team had and give my opponents a free turn. And once I realized that, I thought I would never use it, and I would just better trade it away, right?
I see. See, on paper, it does. On paper, to me, it does look like if you had Blissey on this original team, it looks a bit, with the Corviknight, it looks like a bit of the original Skarm Bliss combo. But I do heavily agree with you. I think on your team specifically, it would kill the momentum too much. So I think that's good insight.
Yeah. So I made my focus on more offensive playstyle.
Yep.
So Dragalge, I swapped it for Dragalge, and then I realized that I needed a poison type, right?
Of course, yeah. Every draft team needs a grounded poison type.
Yeah, but Dragalge shared a lot of weaknesses with bugs, and it was similar to bugs, and I would never picture what game I will bring both of them onto the same team. And not bringing bugs meant not bringing one of my favorites, so I just swapped Dragalge. I don't remember who I swapped it for. I think it was Indeedee, and I thought about a great expanding force psychic terrain strategy
with a Zelf. Oh, I see.
Right, but then Emerald Miner tested it, and thanks to him, he warned me that it doesn't work.
Oh, okay. So that was kind of just a human error that you quickly fixed because it didn't work.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Error.
Nice.
Yeah. As for Hisui and Sneasel, I think it could have done great on my team, but then I needed a special wall, kind of and Probopass was also a trapper. On the games where Darktro didn't seem reasonable to bring, if they had a lot of flying types or faster Pokemon, for example with your team, Greninja and Zamazenta, right? Darktro didn't seem good there.
Thunderous, of course.
Yeah, so if I had Probopass back then.
I see.
Yeah. So Probopass did very well. Such an underrated Pokemon in draft because with Terra. It could trap any steel type and just Terastallize and either body press or earth power. Had a lot of fun with it.
I can imagine, yeah. You make great use of it.
And I did manage to find a great poison type in Salazzle. Yeah, but I did make my team more versatile.
Absolutely.
My non-main Pokemon were so good. People in playoffs actually did consider preparing for Probopass and Salazzle, which actually made me very proud of how they did in the regular season.
Yeah, that's great. And also, would you consider these? Obviously, your team is 9 Pokemon, right? Would you, for future draft leagues, would you recommend people all of these Pokemon, or would you say that there was one member in which you thought was a little bit more deadweight, in particular the Dracologue, but also just in general?
Well, obviously Dracologue, right? It's very situational, and I did bring it only because Urshifu, a Rapid Strike, would destroy my team if I didn't have it.
Of course, yeah. That's also why I had it in Mox, I did
Yeah,
a couple
yeah.
of mock
We're
battles
good
with
on you
Brandon, and
for yeah,
we both came up with the idea of defensive Dracloak.
yeah. I was talking to Beer, and I was like, crap, I don't have any Urshifu switch-ins and Cinderace. They just stomped my team, and then I was like, wait, what if I try Viola Dracloak? It literally resists everything Urshifu wants to do.
Yep,
It was such a funny moment.
it's incredible, right?
Uh,
Yeah, would you recommend all of these Pokemon, or would you say there's one that
right.
you don't recommend drafting?
I think all of them are great, and if they do what they do best, but I don't really know if people would use them correctly. Like we saw with Bugs Calibur is such an amazing Pokemon. If you don't know how to use it, it doesn't really contribute much to your team. Zapdos I would definitely recommend because it's such a versatile, great Pokemon that can be both a wall and an attacker.
Yeah, of course.
Azumarill especially, the typing is great, the design is great, the move pool is great. Even like if your opponent has say an Ogre pawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just roll it with a Subseeker.
Yep, which you did successfully.
Corviknight, I think if you consider it as just if I need a defogger and a Pokemon that can take a hit, Corviknight is great. But then again, it did cost me like 15 points, and for Corviknight it's a bit too much in my opinion.
I see. So you say Corviknight is good, but maybe a little bit overpriced.
Right, yeah, like if it's maybe 12 or 13 points, right, yeah. What's next? Azelf. Azelf is a great Pokemon. It's so versatile.
Yeah, of course.
It is immune to spikes and toxic spikes and sticky web, I think. It ignores levitate the sticky web.
Yeah, it does, yep.
Its move pool is fantastic, and support move pool, which actually I came to appreciate during the league, with Trick and Anchor and Taunt and Rocks and like Thunder Wave. It
makes it so unpredictable, great. Right?
Yeah. The only thing Azelf lacks is Ice Beam. Don't know why Mesprit gets Ice Beam, but Azelf doesn't.
It's odd, isn't it?
Yeah. Salazzle and Probopass both are great, like niche picks. I think. And Dactro I wouldn't recommend personally because it's probably the hardest to use Pokemon on my team.
That's fair, yeah. I personally wouldn't do great with Dugtrio, I can give you that right now.
Yeah, I think like out of all of my Pokemon, Dugtrio is probably the Pokemon most people would have trouble with using.
I can imagine that, yeah.
Even though its Arena Trap is like among the most broken abilities in the game, it's just so frail, and it's not like it's fast, but it's not that fast. So in several games I had to use Choice Scarf just to outspeed.
Yeah, you had to use Choice Scarf when you're fastest mon. That's not always ideal.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
I really do think it's an incredible team. Sorry, what'd you say?
I think my team also had the huge ghost weakness.
Of course, yeah.
But I was fortunate enough that I didn't come across any. Like the major ghost Pokemon was Hoopa on Emerald Miner's team, but he didn't bring it against me.
Yeah, that was quite fortunate, which I think he worked around well. So
yeah,
honestly, I do think it's a great team, but I am very impressed, like I said, of how you managed to carry this all the way to the finals and win with it. So that's incredible job, and I really do like if there's anything that I've learned from this is if we do another power ranking next season, I'm learning to never ever doubt your draft team ever again. That's definitely something I'm thinking. So the next thing I wanted to ask you is your overall record in the league was 8-3, obviously, including the playoffs. 5-3 in the regular season. So despite you winning the championship, there were still 3 matches in the regular season that you ended up losing. In week 3 against myself, the Leaf Agents, in week 7 against the West Texas Arcanines, and in week 8 against the California Trailblazers. Now, the main thing I wanted to ask of you is, do you think that these matches in particular, well, we'll start with mine. Do you think these 3 matches in particular were very difficult ones, or like what's your thoughts on these matches?
All right, so starting with yours, I think yours was one of the hardest teams to prepare for, just because of sheer power of Pokemon. You had like Thundurus and Greninja and Zamazenta.
I have the kill leaders of each of these matches on the screen right now, and for mine it was Thundurus Therian. Do you think Thundurus Therian in particular was really hard to prep for?
So it's immune to Dugtrio. It's Azumarill is not really good against it. Corviknight and Zapdos aren't good against it. Bugs is great against it, but then again, you could just switch out. Zamazenta had coverage for my entire team. Like, I really expected you to run Expert Belt, and it would just touch everything.
Makes sense, yeah. The reason I went Choice Band is because I wouldn't be able to 2 KO Corviknight with Wild Charge, which is what I did end up being able to thanks to the Choice Band.
Yeah, the only, like in our match, even though it came down to Oricorio roll, right? It did come down to Oricorio roll just because you messed up with an item on your Hatrin. Were it any other item and say you went for a Nuzzle on my Excalibur, it would be over much sooner than what we had.
Yeah, for sure. That was that Oricorio living. That was a wild moment for sure, and that I'm still.
Your win was well deserved.
Thank you, man.
The second game was when I already locked into playoffs, so I was more chill about like how my games went. I didn't prepare that well. So I remember the Haxorus game, you remember when my...
I have Haxorus over here as well, on the thing.
I got intimidated by Arcanine. My Tailwind ended, and I started panicking, like, I had the win like guaranteed, but Tailwind ended one turn before I expected it to. And like, the combination of all those things made me like do probably the worst play of my entire season. Instead of switching out Excalibur and second Dugtrio, I just went for the Ice Chart, which at -1 did like 50% to Haxorus. If I switched out on a scale shot, right, Dugtrio died, I had 100% chance to kill Haxorus with Ice Chart.
Oh, right, yep.
It was like, it probably did like 120%.
That's gonna.
So I just messed up. I think if I played more smarter, it was my game. And against Chris, I think I just planned on a lot of meme sets instead of trying to bring like the best version of my team against a person who is like among the best battlers in BHDL. I just, for some reason, like, I brought defensive Assault Vect, Excalibur, Sepsipra, Azumarill, Endurance, Castapberry, Probopass.
Yeah, you had a lot of meaty sets that week for sure.
Yeah, so that was like me unintentionally. I would never throw intentionally the game,
of course,
because I respect my opponents, so I would never go easy on them. But that was me unintentionally throwing the game.
I see. Would you say week 7 and 8 were also like hard matchups on paper, like as hard as week 3, or would you say they were just it was more so with the battle itself, where you maybe didn't play as optimally as you perhaps could have?
I think week 7 was a fine matchup. I didn't really like consider it hard, but against Pokemaster, once he got Train Team up, I think his team was very scared.
Yep, Ludicolo was also the MVP of that one.
Yeah, it definitely was. Manual Rain Dance, yeah, that was a good tech on his part.
What I do find very interesting about this statistic in particular, which you pointed out as well, I think, is that all of the 3 people that you lost to did not end up making the playoffs, which is
crazy.
Pretty crazy, yeah. Even though I'd say, I mean, obviously I won't speak for myself, but I think Arcaniner and Pokemaster did incredible this season. They're very, very good battlers, and I'm definitely expecting them to make a sorry comeback if Season 3 eventually comes around. But
yeah, Arcaniner, I was talking to Arcaniner, and I told him that I'm surprised that his record was not higher, because his team was very threatening. Like, he had
Agreed.
a lot of Pokemon that could just... I don't remember it on the top of my head, but I did tell him that his team is very scary on,
Yep.
on the preview.
I do remember ranking his team quite high on the power rankings as well. I don't remember it exactly, but I do remember it's like Haxorus, Great Tusk. I think Empoleon was on there, so it's
Oh
definitely
yeah, all those, yeah.
had like a bunch of really good friends, and he also had like a very deep roster. He even had some lower tier picks which I really liked, like Jolteon and Trevenant, things like that. I really thought those were cool as well. Yeah, and I'm hoping that these two coaches will do great season 3.
I think you, as people who selected the coaches for the league, have done, like you, Adam, Stefan, and Bira. You did great job choosing the right people. Like, all of the 16 were very skilled.
Thank you.
I don't underestimate any of... Like, during my preps, I looked at the teams and I looked at the coaches, and I was like, I never had an easy time preparing for either of you.
Yep, that's I absolutely agree. I think everyone definitely did their best, and I'm hoping for even more comeback stories in season 3 for sure. So yeah, thank you for your thoughts on that. Now for the final one that I would love to have your insight on, we have the finals matchup on the screen here once again, and I'd just like to hear what were your thoughts going up in the finals against Brandon.
So we actually met in the regular season.
Yep, of course.
And that was that was the hardest team for me to prepare for.
Like, really just the hardest out of all of them?
Yeah, the hardest, definitely.
Okay.
Because Bisharp and Cresselia, they have such a different playstyle between two of them, and they both are Terra Captains. So if you prepare for, say, Cresselia by bringing Nasty Plot, Shadow Ball, Azelf, or like, I don't know, like, you prepare for Cresselia and then Bisharp sweeps you because you didn't prepare enough for Bisharp, but then you bring say Zapdos, right? Defensive Zapdos, and you stop Bisharp, but then Cresselia sets like 3 Calm Minds on you and sweeps your whole team.
Yep, I can see
and
that.
I was trying to find the correct strategy to beat him, and in the first game I was lucky that I had access to Toxic Substitute Disable Salazzle, and it helped me beat Cresselia, and Magnet Pull Probopass with Body Press helped me beat Bisharp. So those two gimmicky Pokemon, that he obviously didn't know about. Like, I've joked with Probopass. People don't know about Probopass in general. Not to add that what moveset Probopass has access to.
I also was not expecting it. Was not expecting you to bring it in our week 3 game. I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised to see it, but it's the surprise factor definitely helped, I think.
Yeah. So that worked that time, but I knew if I had to face him again, it would not work again. So I was always hoping that somebody else would knock him out before the finals because of sheer terror. Like, I was afraid of that team. And once I saw that he beat the best, I was like, oh crap, what do I do? What
I can imagine, yeah.
Because I knew that I could not Toxic Stall him again. He would be prepared for Probopass. So I really thought hard about how to beat Cresselia and Bisharp. And Azelf was one of the key Pokemon because it was the Pokemon that could stop both, in a sense.
Yep.
I ran Flame Orb Tricksat because if he switches Bisharp on it, I can trick and it becomes burn, so it stops Bisharp completely. And if I trick Cresselia, which I expected to run Lunar Blessing over Moonlight because of the Toxic Salazzle, it would just get burned every turn in the end of the turn, so it will just get chipped every turn after this.
Yep.
And if I come on Salazzle on the B-sharp Swords Dancing or Sucker Punching, I can just anchor it into that move.
Yeah.
So once I figured how to deal with B-sharp and Cresselia, I got a little more easy, like with my team building. So my next, like my attention came down to what do I do with Cinderace now and Urshifu now.
Yep.
So Urshifu was easier because I had Zapdos and Azelf, and they both KO'd Urshifu with Psychic and Thunderbolt. But then Cinderace was great on my whole team. It had Iron Head or High Jump Kick for my Excalibur, Gunk Shot for my Azumarill, and Sucker Punch for my Dactrio, so I was like...
Yep. Cinderace honestly had an incredible matchup versus you.
Yeah, and I needed to find something that could at least take a few hits from it. And that's why I used Dracloak, which I thought was a meme at first, but then I was like, I can switch Dracloak with Eviolite on either Urshifu or Cinderace, and go for the Reflect to like top his momentum at least temporarily.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Azu was Assault West just because I expected him to bring Noivern. Noivern was great onto my team.
Yep, it really was.
And with Assault West, I wasn't too hit KO'd by Hurricane or Boom Burst, so it was like my best answer to Noivern.
Yeah,
and
for
partially
sure.
to Gardevoir. Dactrio was Choice Scarf just because of me predicting his Gardevoir to be Choice Scarf to beat my Arena Trap Dactrio, because it will trace my Arena Trap and kill me.
Yep, it would kill you and it would use your own strategies against you.
Yeah, so that was like a no you, I'm also a Scarf.
Yeah, no, I thought the Choice Scarf Dactrio was an incredible bring because it also obviously would do amazing against Urshifu. And it lived on 1 HP in the battle from Urshifu's Aqua Gem, if I remember correctly.
That was so crazy that you were joking about Sucker Punch doing half to Terra Fairy Dactrio, which was a resisted hit. But what you probably don't know is that my Dactrio also had like 60 defensives.
Oh, that's big brain. The EV's coming in clutch. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because obviously you know if you're that fast, you obviously can afford to run some HP and defense investment. But still, the fact that came in clutch and it lived on 1 HP, that's incredible.
Thanks, but what I'm trying to say that even with all those defense investment, it still did take half from the resisted Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
This Pokemon is so frail. That's why I think it would be really hard for any other people to use it. I don't think I will use it ever again because it's just such a stress.
Yeah, no, I somewhat feel it because obviously I've had to deal with the, I don't have a Ditto on my team, I don't have an unaware user, so I had the stress of having to account for mirror herbs all season when using a Shell Smash Torterra, but I can imagine this must be just as stressful, just at just your best Terra captain being at fear of just dying to anything.
Right, yeah. It's good when it works, but those like moments you need to think so hard and like play exceptionally well just to find the moment when Dactrio can come in.
Yep, absolutely agree. So would you say that like Azelf and Dugtrio were your MVPs this match?
Azelf, I think Dracloak was one of the bigger parts why I won yesterday. Well, or depending on when video comes out, like in the finals. So Dracloak, even though it seemed like it didn't do much, it pulled through Iron Head and used Reflect, and that Reflect helped my team not to get swept by Cinderace.
Yeah, that really helped.
Yeah, I think if I could name my MVP, it was Azelf and Zapdos. Two of them.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. They did incredible.
Yeah, Azelf stopped B-Sharp and Cresselia, and Zapdos not stopped, but so it killed Cinderace, Noivern, which was very lucky, by the way. On Noivern's part, it never got paralyzed, so I couldn't get the free turn.
Yeah, that was a big anime moment. Like, obviously, it did get the 10% para, but after that, it just clicked Dragon Pulse and Dragon Pulse again and Dragon Pulse again, and never ever had to, like, it never let up.
Right, yeah. If I was that Noivern, if it was my Noivern, it would be paralyzed like turn 2.
Yep, same here. Like, we've seen my luck in BHDL Season 2. It's not been the greatest, and I guarantee I would have been in the same spot.
Yeah, and obviously Zapdos did get the final kill on Urshifu.
Yep.
The standard mode. And my second MVP is definitely Azelf. With that Flame Orb trick set I mentioned earlier, you would never see in any other games Swords Dance in B Sharp running away in fear of Azelf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I thought that set was incredible. That was probably like my favorite part of, or one of my favorite parts of the whole finals game, to be honest. That was incredible.
Oh, that's great. I like when people appreciate like those unusual sets, and instead of like the regular nasty plots. And I can imagine, like, we did say it was like an anime moment. B Sharp, Swords Dancing, and then Azelf comes out, and it starts hurting itself with burn, and B Sharp thinks, oh crap, what do I do? This Azelf is too hardcore, it already started beating itself up without my help.
B Sharp running away from an Azelf is definitely a
was like, no, I'm not dealing with that, and I'm out.
I thought that was beautiful. Although definitely good play from Brandon for scouting for it, because I can't guarantee that. Honestly, I might have even like been oblivious in the moment and just like Night Slash or something. I would not have expected Trick Flame, or put it that way. I would not have expected.
That B Sharp did survive my +1 Glaive Rush like a hero though.
Yep.
It was the first time in the whole season 2 when I clicked Glaive Rush and something didn't drop to it. I was very impressed.
That's incredible, yeah.
Because I set rocks with my Azelf just to guarantee that Glaive Rush kills B Sharp. Because it was already Terra Electric, and I thought if I get the Dragon Dance up, I can just sweep. But I couldn't, to my surprise.
Yep, that was definitely a lot of very epic moments. Definitely, I would say, you said it as well, definitely a finals-worthy match. Again, if you haven't somehow watched it, please go and watch it. I think the homie Brandon has got his video up by now, and I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. Definitely an incredible game. Alright, and with that, we have reached the end of the interview, or at least I'm out of questions for now.
I actually had one very fun question for you to consider.
Okay. Go ahead.
What, in your opinion, is your favorite game of the second season?
Of all of the games?
Well, we can split it to like your favorite regular season game and your favorite playoff game, if you watched those.
It's a hard one. I have definitely watched every single game. I always try to try my best to keep up with Draft League. There's a bunch of really fun games. Like, as for myself, I've had incredible games. I mean, with everyone, but I've had super incredible and close games with Pokemaster and Notorious HYM. Those were like 1-0 victories that came right under the wire. As for other people's games, I really enjoyed you versus Icy Dude in the regular season.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was an incredible one. I really enjoyed Captain Beanard versus Emerald Miner, I think in week 2, if I remember correctly. And I also, if I'm just thinking right now, like out loud off the top of my head, I also really enjoyed the semi-finals game between Brandon and The Best. I thought that was also a really, really fun one to see. But like, as for my favorite one, I'm having a hard time deciding, honestly. But those I would say are my notable ones. But what about you?
Well, I definitely like the finals. That's one of those like hype games. I also liked. I don't recall like who exactly it was, but so who had the Madsdale on their team? I think Cap had, right?
Captain Beanard, yes.
He had a very close game in the start of the season. I think against Dragapult, like that was a very close game.
Oh yeah, that was a good one as well. That was Captain Beanard versus Notorious HYM. That was a really good one.
Yeah, it was very fun to watch. Yeah, so that one as well.
Yeah. Honestly, Yeah, incredible season. Have you got any other closing thoughts, or should I start closing it off?
I thought our game was pretty cool too when Orikoro, like a true hero, survived the Glaive.
Absolutely, as the true heir of King Jerry.
So that wasn't the first time. Orikoro was the first time who took a Glaive Rush.
Right, yeah, that was the only other Pokemon. It's kind of hilarious, right, to have an Oricorio of all things survive a +1 Glaive Rush, but
Mamoswine didn't, but Oricorio did.
Yeah, that's funny if you think about it. Yeah, it's funny as well because that was basically Oricorio's only good moment for the season. Like, I didn't get any sweeps with it, and obviously in week 2 we had the infamous crit, which fun fact, if that crit alone hadn't have happened, we would not have had this finals matchup because Brandon would not have been able to. Actually, it probably would have gone different, and Brandon may probably still would have made the playoffs. But regardless, I would have definitely made it, and it would have definitely had a big butterfly effect. But in Brandon's defense, I definitely did not play that game like as to the best of my abilities. He definitely played better than me still, I would say. And looking back at it. At the time, I'll admit I was salty, and I think I deserved to win. But looking back, I have looked back at it a couple of times, and I definitely do think that Brandon deserved the win. And I also do think the main thing really is just that had I played better, I could have just avoided that situation altogether. It's super easy to blame hacks in the moment, but if you really look at it, it is also a skill in Pokemon as a whole to not put myself in that situation where I can get crit in the first place, and that really
that's
is
true.
what cost me.
I think it was a very fun season, greatly organized, and the rules, like the draft rules, limited us only 100 points. Last time it was how much? Remind me.
115.
Yeah, so that's the one whole good Pokemon on the team.
Yep.
It definitely limited the team building, but I was glad that I chose this team in particular, more powerhouses and more favorites, because it always felt to me even though my roster was more shallow than other teams, the Pokemon themselves were so versatile you couldn't really predict what exact moveset I had on them.
Absolutely agree. I still remember Emerald Miner saying once where he described your team as this team does a couple of things and it may be predictable, but what are you going to do about it? And you know what? I absolutely agree. I think it's super hard to expect what exactly is it going to do, but more important, it really is what are you going to do about it? And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'm not sure if it is a correct advice in general, but I had this conversation quite a few of times, and I think it's better to pick less Pokemon but stronger ones than just think about type diversity and pick a lot of weaker Pokemon like NU, PU Pokemon. Even if you cover your grass type and you pick something like Bellossom, right? Even though Bellossom is a great Pokemon, you can just pick one less Pokemon and pick Azumarill, which would probably cover your grass resistance better with Sepsiper, right?
I see. So you would say that going top heavy is more of you would say going top heavy is the sort of your go-to strategy in draft that you think is really solid.
I think so, because if a person against me, even if they bring a more correct team, but it's full of never used or rarely used Pokemon, and then I have Bugs, which is Uber, Corviknight, and Dactro, which Dactro is also Uber technically. Corvi is OU, Zapdos is UU, Azumarill is UU, and then I have all of my Pokemon underused or higher.
Yep.
And then I place say Samurott, which is never used, or Magmortar, right? And I think that becomes already easier for me than if a person picks Keldeo and Dragapult and then weaker Pokemon, but they bring Dragapult and Keldeo against me, and I was and I'll think, what am I going to do against them?
Yep. Future draft players, keep this in mind. Advice from the champion itself. It's very. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. That's very interesting to hear. I also did the same thing with my season a bit, funnily enough, because my team, both of our teams were also 9 Pokemon. We both of us had a Piyumon. Yours was Dracloak, mine was Swalot. And apart from that, our team was very, very top heavy. Like obviously, my first picks were Zamazenta, Thundurus Therian, and then obviously third, I went and secured my Torterra. So like both of us, our first 2 picks were like very top heavy, and then for the third pick, we both picked our favorite Pokemon of all time. Funnily enough, I think because your third pick was a Azumarill, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And obviously, I got my obviously Torterra is not exactly a top heavy team, but the reason I drafted third is because A, it's my favorite, but also B, Torterra did end up being a pretty incredible Pokemon. Like obviously, spoiler alert, I still have my own.
Huge props to you for picking Torterra and like sticking with it.
Thanks, man.
I used Azumarill since Generation 3, even though it got huge power. It didn't have Water Stab. Like the best Fairy type in Aqua Jet. The best like move it had was like Double Edge.
Oh, of course, yeah, because the water types were all special in Gen 3. Now, Torterra is a Pokemon that I have a lot of experience building with, but at the end of the day, it is just my favorite Pokemon of all time. And with the new tool of Shell Smash, and we eventually decided it was allowed to Terra, I had to draft it. And it's been, again, spoiler alert, I have my own draft recap coming up on my channel, and it really was my seasonal MVP, which I'm very proud to say. It had the best stats of anyone on my team, if I remember correctly.
If I could share one more advice, this talk has led me to it. Just don't think about just which Pokemon is better for you, like type wise, or maybe strategy wise. Like we both can admit, it's a lot easier dealing with loss if you lost with Pokemon you like than with random Pokemon you don't have any emotional attachment to.
Absolutely, yeah.
And win is a lot better. Like winning with Azumarill would be a lot better for me than winning with like any other water Pokemon.
Yep, really is. So yeah, that's 2 great advices from the champion. Pick some top heavy Pokemon and stick with your favorites. That's
follow my and Scorpion's example.
It's a great some great piece of advice, honestly, to come from. So thank you very much, Raymond, for coming and joining me here. We really hope you guys enjoyed. As for PHDL's tradition, it's really cool to hear the thoughts of the 2-time winner. Congratulations! I'll give the Pokemon VIOLA role to you on the Discord as well.
I'll have to edit my logo now and just insert VIOLA into Mamoswine tasks.
Yep. Do it. Put the prizes on the logo.
Thank you to you for finding time and sharing it, like all those questions with me.
No worries. Really, I'm glad to hear you enjoyed, and we really hope you guys enjoyed as well. That's going to be it for this one. This is the official end of Battle Hub Draft League Season 2. It's been an incredible journey. I want to hereby thank all of the coaches, commissioners, and even all of the people who watch from the sidelines for supporting us and being with us throughout the season. Again, it's been amazing. It really has been. And Battle Hub Draft League Season 3 is definitely coming soon, so stay tuned for that. We will have more passionate projects like these coming as well, and this channel is going nowhere. We want to give you all a final big thank you for the support this season, and with that being said, peace out, and we will see you in Season 3. Goodbye.
See ya.